Hello, my dear witches and wizards. It's James. Welcome back to another evening together, where we gather in the warmth of shared magic and quiet adventure. Tonight, I am taking you deep into the very bones of Hogwarts itself, into corridors that breathe with ancient enchantments and secrets that have waited centuries to be found. You'll discover hidden chambers, solve puzzles left by the founders themselves, and perhaps learn that the castle has been watching over you all along, aware and alive in ways you never imagined. So settle in, find your coziest spot, let the world outside fade to nothing, and allow yourself to slip into this story. Grab your wand, take a deep breath, and let's begin. The restricted section smells like time itself tonight, like parchment that has absorbed centuries of whispered incantations, and the particular mustiness that comes from leather bindings older than anyone's great-great-grandparents. You're here legitimately for once, a small miracle considering how often you've snuck past these ropes in previous years, but tonight you have Professor Aldwick's signature on a permission slip tucked into your robe pocket, granting you access for new T-level research on magical architecture. The light from your wand tip dances across spines embossed with gold leaf and faded ink, titles in Latin and languages you don't recognize, and you run your fingers along the shelves with a kind of reverence that might seem excessive to anyone who doesn't understand that each of these books holds knowledge worth more than galleons. You're searching for anything about how magical buildings evolve, how they respond to enchantments over time, because your thesis proposal centers on the theory that ancient structures develop their own patterns of magic, almost like instinct, and you need sources to back that up. Your fingers brush against a spine that feels different, warmer somehow, and when you pull it free, dust cascades down in a glittering curtain that catches the light. The title reads, Foundations, the Building of Hogwarts, and your heart gives a little leap because this is exactly the sort of primary source you need. You settle into the chair nearest the enchanted lamp, the one that adjusts its brightness based on how tired your eyes are, and you crack open the cover with the gentle care of someone who knows that old books are as fragile as they are precious. The pages smell like wood smoke and something sweeter, maybe vanilla, and you're 3 chapters deep into absolutely fascinating material about foundation enchantments when something slips from between pages near the back. It's parchment, but not like the pages of the book itself. This is older, more brittle, folded into a square that's been pressed flat for so long it resists when you try to open it. You unfold it slowly, so slowly, terrified it might crumble. And when you finally get it spread across the table, your breath catches in your throat hard enough that you have to remind yourself to keep breathing. It's a blueprint, an architectural drawing so detailed and precise that you can see individual stones marked, measurements in a notation system you half recognize from your reading, and there, in the corner, a date, 1002 AD. Your hands start trembling because you're holding something from the castle's original construction, something drawn by hands that might have belonged to the founders themselves, or the builders who worked under their direction. But as your eyes trace the corridors and chambers marked on this ancient parchment, something feels wrong. That corridor there, the one marked as running from the entrance hall toward the lake, that doesn't exist. And this room, this massive circular chamber shown beneath what should be the dungeons, you've never heard of anything like that. You pull out your own rough map of the castle, the one you've been sketching for years because you're exactly the kind of person who maps buildings for fun, and you lay it beside the blueprint. Nothing matches. Oh, the basic outline is there, the towers and the general shape, but the interior is completely different. Passages shown on the ancient blueprint run through spaces that are solid wall in the modern castle. Rooms that should be there, according to this document, simply don't exist, or at least you've never found them. Your mind is racing now, spinning through possibilities, because either this blueprint is fantasy, someone's imagined version that was never built, or something happened to the castle between then and now. Something that made entire corridors disappear. You're still staring at the parchment when the lamp above you dims slightly. Its magic sensing that you've been at this for 3 hours and probably need to rest your eyes, but you can't look away. There's a mystery here, layered into the very stones of the place you've called home for 6 years, and you can feel it humming in your chest like a second heartbeat. You fold the blueprint with exquisite care, tuck it into your bag alongside your notes, and when you return the book to its shelf, you make sure to remember exactly where it lives. You'll be back. The next morning finds you in the library, not the restricted part, but the regular section where students cluster around tables, and the sound of turning pages creates a soft, constant whisper. You're looking for Marcus, your best friend since 3rd year, when you both got detention for experimenting with color-changing charms on the suits of armor and ended up turning an entire corridor's worth of them sparkly pink. He's brilliant, sharper than most people give him credit for, because he hides it behind dry comments and that perpetual expression that suggests he's skeptical of everything. And if anyone can help you figure this out, it's him. You find him tucked into a corner near the charm section, a stack of books about detection spells piled beside him, because he's always been obsessed with revealing magic, with finding what's hidden. "I need your help with something," you say, sliding into the chair across from him. And he doesn't even look up from his book, just turns another page. "That tone means trouble," he says, but there's amusement curling at the edge of his voice. And when he finally does look up, his dark eyes are sharp with interest. "What have you found?" You pull out the blueprint, unfold it carefully on the table between you, and watch his expression shift from casual interest to focused attention. He leans forward, his finger tracing one of the corridors, and you can practically see his mind working, calculating, analyzing. "These can't be accurate," he says finally. "This corridor would run straight through the lake. It's impossible." "Unless the castle's changed," you counter, leaning forward too. Your excitement building, because this is what you love about Marcus. He challenges you, makes you sharpen your arguments. What if these rooms still exist, just hidden? What if the castle evolved, concealed parts of itself? "That's ridiculous," he says, but his tone is thoughtful now, not dismissive. "We'd know. Someone would have found them." "Would we?" You tap the blueprint, right over one of the vanished corridors. "The castle has moving staircases. Everyone just accepts that as normal. What else moves that we don't notice? What else has the castle hidden in plain sight?" He's quiet for a long moment, studying the blueprint with that intense focus he gets when something really catches his interest, and you know you've got him hooked. "What are you proposing?" he asks, and there's a carefulness to the question, like he's already guessing the answer and isn't sure he likes it. "We map the real castle," you say, speaking quickly now because you've been planning this all night, turning it over in your mind until it felt solid and real. "We compare it to these blueprints, find the inconsistencies, figure out where these hidden spaces are. If they're still there, we can find them." "That would take weeks," Marcus points out, but he's not saying no, not yet. "I know," you admit. But you're the best at detection spells I've ever seen. If anyone can find spaces the castle is hiding, it's you. Are you in? The pause stretches long enough that you start to worry, start to think maybe you've pushed too far, asked too much. But then Marcus closes his book with a soft thump and meets your eyes. Fine, he says, and you can hear the resignation in his voice, but also something else, something eager. But if we get expelled, I'm blaming you entirely. Deal, you say, grinning now because you have a partner, because this mystery that's been burning in your chest since last night just became something real and possible. Over the next week, you fall into a pattern that feels almost like a dance, a careful choreography of investigation and caution. During free periods and after dinner, when the corridors are quieter, you and Marcus wander the castle with what you hope looks like aimlessness, just two students taking a walk, nothing suspicious. But Marcus's wand is always out, always casting, and you watch the subtle movements of his fingers as he whispers detection spells under his breath. Homenum revelio, revealing people nearby so you know when to stop talking about your real purpose. Specialis revelio, uncovering magical traces and hidden enchantments. He's methodical, thorough, and you take notes on everything he finds, marking your copy of the blueprint with corrections and observations. The inconsistencies pile up faster than you expected, walls that are far thicker than they need to be for structural support, spaces between rooms that don't account for any corridors or chambers you know about. One evening, on the 7th floor, in a corridor you've walked 100 times before, Marcus stops so abruptly you almost run into him. There's definitely space behind this wall, he says, his wand pointed at what looks like perfectly ordinary stone. About 3 meters deep. Your pulse quickens as you pull out the blueprint, trace the corridors on this level, and yes, right there, marked in faded ink, there should be a study chamber exactly where Marcus is sensing empty space. That matches, you breathe. The blueprint shows a room here, right here. Marcus casts a revealing charm, the kind that should make hidden doors shimmer into visibility, but the wall remains stubbornly solid. The magic slides off like water, refused entry. Whatever's hiding, this is powerful, he mutters, and there's respect in his voice, maybe even a little awe. Old magic, really old. We need to find the pattern, you say, thinking aloud, your mind already racing ahead. Why are some rooms hidden and others not? There has to be a logic to it, a system. And there is. It takes you 2 more weeks of careful observation, of comparing the blueprint to your findings. But slowly the pattern emerges like a constellation forming from scattered stars. Certain passages on the blueprint are marked with small symbols beside them, crescents and circles that you initially dismissed as decorative. But when you finally pay attention, when you really look, you realize they're lunar phases, new moons, full moons, quarters, and crescents. You check the lunar calendar, and your heart nearly stops when you see that tonight is a new moon, and that 7th floor corridor with the hidden study. That passage is marked with a new moon symbol. Convincing Marcus to sneak out at midnight is easier than you expected. Maybe because he's as caught up in this as you are now. Maybe because the mystery has sunk its hooks into him too. You borrowed an invisibility cloak from a friend earlier, claiming you needed it for a prank, and now you and Marcus huddle beneath its shimmering folds as you make your way through the castle's sleeping corridors. The portraits snore softly in their frames, and the armor stands silent and still, and every footstep feels too loud, even though you know the cloak muffles sound. When you reach the 7th floor corridor, the one you've tested a dozen times with no results, the castle is so quiet you can hear your own heartbeat thundering in your ears. You emerge from beneath the cloak as a distant bell chimes midnight, the sound echoing through stone, and you both turn to face the wall. For a moment, nothing happens. Then the stone begins to shimmer, like heat rising off summer pavement, and you grab Marcus's arm without thinking because you need to hold on to something solid. The shimmer intensifies, and then, so slowly it's almost painful to watch, a doorway forms. Not opens, forms. The stone itself rearranging into an arch with a wooden door set into it, old and weathered and absolutely, impossibly there. "Impossible," Marcus whispers, and his voice is rough with shock. "The rooms shift with moon phases," you say, and your own voice sounds strange to your ears, too high and breathless. "The castle is alive, Marcus. It's actually alive. The door isn't locked. It swings open at your touch with a creak that sounds like it's been waiting centuries to be heard, and beyond is a small study that looks like someone just stepped out for tea and never came back. There's dust, thick and undisturbed, coating every surface, but beneath it you can see a desk, shelves lined with books whose spines have faded to illegibility, a chair pulled slightly back like someone pushed away from their work. The air smells stale and old, but not unpleasant, like a room that's been sleeping. You step inside carefully, Marcus right behind you, both your wands lit and held high. The desk draws you like a magnet, and when you carefully brush away the dust, you find parchment underneath, covered in handwriting so elegant it's almost art. It's a journal entry, and as you lean closer to read, your breath catches. "The castle must protect itself," the entry begins, and you read it aloud so Marcus can hear, your voice barely above a whisper in the stillness. "We have designed it to hide what must be hidden, reveal what must be revealed. It will evolve with time, adapt to threats, keep safe those who dwell within its walls. This is not merely a building, but a guardian, a living testament to our intentions." The signature at the bottom is small but clear, Rowena Ravenclaw. You and Marcus stare at those words for what feels like hours but is probably only seconds, and when you finally look at each other, you see your own shock reflected in his expression. "This is real," he says, and his voice has none of its usual skepticism, just wonder. "This is actually completely real." The next day passes in a blur of classes you barely pay attention to, your mind elsewhere, caught in the implications of what you've found. During lunch, you pull Marcus aside and tell him what you're thinking, the theory that's been building since you saw that signature. If the castle can hide rooms, if it can reveal them based on lunar phases, then it must have some form of awareness, some kind of consciousness that governs those decisions. And if it has consciousness, it must have a center, a core, a heart. "You think the blueprints are leading us there," Marcus says, and it's not a question, more like he's confirming what he's already guessed. "I think there's something beneath the castle," you say, glancing around to make sure no one's listening. "Something the founders built to sustain it, to give it that awareness. And I think that's what we're meant to find." Marcus is quiet, chewing on a piece of bread he doesn't seem to actually taste, his eyes distant. "If you're right," he says slowly, "if there's really a core consciousness to this place, finding it could be dangerous. The castle might not want to be found." "Or," you counter, "maybe it does. Maybe that's why the blueprints were in that book, waiting. Maybe the castle wants someone to understand it. You spend the next week researching lunar enchantments and consciousness spells, any theory you can find about buildings developing awareness through prolonged magical exposure. Professor Aldwick, your ancient runes teacher, helps without meaning to when you bring him careful sketches of the symbols you've found on the blueprint. He's eccentric in the best way, always delighted when students show genuine interest, and he translates the runes with enthusiasm that makes his beard quiver. This one means protection, he says, pointing to a symbol you've seen repeatedly. And this is evolution, or perhaps adaptation. The rune has dual meanings. This one here, this is awareness or consciousness, quite rare in architectural magic, actually. He looks up at you over his spectacles, curiosity bright in his eyes. Where did you find these? This is founder-era work, quite sophisticated. Research project, you say vaguely, offering your most innocent smile. Castle history, how the buildings evolved over time. Fascinating, Aldwick murmurs, returning to the symbols. It's almost like they were describing a living entity, isn't it? Aware, evolving, protecting itself. Quite poetic. After you leave his office, Marcus leans against the corridor wall and looks at you with something like resignation. He's right, you know. The castle is sentient, properly, genuinely sentient. And if it's sentient, you say, finishing the thought you've both been circling, it has a heart, a central consciousness, and the blueprints are the map to finding it. The hidden staircase appears during a waning moon 3 days later, tucked into a corner of the dungeons you've passed countless times without really seeing. Marcus nearly walks right past it, but you catch the shimmer out of the corner of your eye, that same heat haze effect you saw before. And when you both turn back, there's a narrow archway where the wall should be, stone steps spiraling down into darkness. You exchange a look, a whole conversation happening in that glance, all the question of whether you're really going to do this, whether you're brave enough or foolish enough. And then Marcus sighs and lights his wand. After you, he says dryly. I'm not going first into whatever nightmare you've found. The stairs descend far deeper than the dungeons, deeper than you thought the castle's foundations went. And as you spiral down, the air grows colder, heavier with magic that presses against your skin like a physical thing. The walls here are different from anywhere else in Hogwarts. The stone older, rougher, carved with less precision, because this is original work. This is the very first layer of the castle. Torches flicker to life as you pass them, enchanted flames that have waited who knows how long for someone to come this way. And in their dancing light, you can see faint carvings in the stone, symbols and runes you don't recognize. We're under the lake, Marcus says quietly, his voice echoing strange in the enclosed space. We have to be. We've gone too deep, too far. This shouldn't exist. But it does. The stairs end at a door, and this door is magnificent, even covered in centuries of dust and shadow. It's carved from a single piece of wood you can't identify, dark and heavy, and covered in intricate designs that shift when you're not looking directly at them. In the center, 4 symbols are inlaid in what might be gold: a lion, an eagle, a badger, a serpent. The founders, you breathe, reaching out but not quite touching, not yet. The door is sealed, locked with magic far more complex than any simple Alohomora can handle, and Marcus steps forward with the kind of focus you've seen on his face during exams when he's determined to prove he's the smartest person in the room. He casts revealing charms, detection spells, his wand moving in precise patterns, and slowly the door's defenses make themselves known. It's not just a lock, it's a puzzle. Layers of enchantments that have to be addressed in sequence with precise timing. You watch him work, occasionally offering suggestions when you recognize a symbol or pattern, and nearly 20 minutes pass before finally, something clicks. The sound echoes through the stairs like a bell, and the door swings inward on hinges that don't creak despite their age. Beyond is a chamber so vast that your wand light barely touches the far walls, and what you can see steals every thought from your mind. It's a library, but not like any library you've ever imagined. The room is divided into 4 distinct sections, each radiating out from a central point, and you can see shelves upon shelves of books, scrolls, artifacts behind glass, workbenches covered in magical instruments. This is the Founder's Archive. This is where they stored everything that mattered, everything they created and discovered and dreamed. You step inside slowly, Marcus beside you, both of you too awed to speak. The air here smells like parchment and old magic, the same scent that fills the restricted section, but multiplied, concentrated, pure. To your left, the section dominated by red and gold must be Gryffindor's work. You can see books on combat magic, protective enchantments, artifacts that gleam with defensive purpose. To your right, where green and silver colors touch every surface, that's clearly Slytherin's domain, filled with books on concealment and cunning, on secrets and shadows. Ahead, yellow and black mark Hufflepuff's contribution, and even from here you can sense preservation magic humming in that space, growth spells and nurturing enchantments. And on your far right, blue and bronze for Ravenclaw, and you're drawn there like you're being called, pulled by invisible threads toward books on architecture and intelligence, on consciousness and design. But it's what sits in the center of the room that truly captures your attention. A table, round and wide, and on it, a perfect miniature replica of Hogwarts Castle. Every tower, every turret, every window is rendered in exquisite detail, and as you move closer, you realize with a jolt that it's moving. Tiny staircases shift inside the model. Tiny doors open and close. The whole thing pulses with a gentle golden light that matches your heartbeat. It's showing the castle in real time, you whisper, and the words feel too loud in this sacred space. This is how they monitored it, how they designed it to be self-sustaining. Marcus is circling the table, his expression caught between wonder and disbelief. This is impossible. This is actually impossible. They made the castle alive, gave it awareness, and they monitored it from down here like parents watching over a child, you finish. And the comparison feels right, feels true. You spend what might be hours exploring each section, carefully touching nothing but looking at everything, trying to memorize every detail. In Gryffindor's section, you find notes on courage spells, on enchantments meant to strengthen resolve. Slytherin's area holds books on adaptive magic, on teaching structures to think and respond. Hufflepuff's work focuses on sustainability, on making magic that endures and nurtures. And Ravenclaw's section, your section, is filled with architectural theory so advanced it makes your head spin. Plans for buildings that evolve with their inhabitants, structures that learn and grow. In the very center, beside the castle model, you find a journal bound in leather that shows where from 4 different sets of hands. You open it carefully, and the pages inside contain entries in 4 distinct handwriting styles, sometimes responding to each other, arguing and agreeing, and building on each other's ideas. One entry catches your eye, dated to the year after the castle's completion. "We have made Hogwarts aware," you read aloud, your voice hushed with reverence. "It will protect students, evolve with their needs, hide what is dangerous, reveal what is needed, but it will also test those who seek its secrets. Only the worthy may know its full truth. We have built not just a school, but a guardian, a teacher, a living extension of our intentions." The entry is signed by all 4 founders, their names lined up like promises: Godric, Rowena, Helga, Salazar. Marcus has moved to stand beside you, reading over your shoulder, and his voice is quiet when he speaks. "They really did it. They really created something that thinks and feels and chooses." You're about to respond when you notice something else, another passage at the back of the archive, partially hidden behind Slytherin's section. It's smaller than the main entrance, narrower, and when you approach it, you see that the doorway is carved with warning runes. Marcus comes with you, and together you study the symbols, his knowledge of defensive magic combining with your understanding of ancient writing. "Beyond lies the heart," Marcus translates slowly, his finger tracing each rune. "Enter at your peril. Only the worthy shall witness. The unworthy shall remain." A shiver runs down your spine that has nothing to do with the cold. "The heart," you repeat. "That's it, Marcus. That's the castle's core consciousness, its actual heart." "The warning is pretty clear," Marcus says, and there's caution in his voice, the first real hesitation you've heard from him since you started this investigation. "They don't want just anyone going down there." "We've come this far," you say, looking at him, willing him to understand. "We've found the archive. We've seen their work. We understand what they built. We can't stop now." "You're going regardless of what I say, aren't you?" Marcus asks, but there's resignation in his tone, not surprise. "Yes," you admit. He sighs, long and deep, and pushes his hair back from his forehead in a gesture that means he's about to do something he knows is probably a bad idea. "Then I'm coming too. Someone needs to save you when this inevitably goes wrong." The passage beyond the warning door is narrow enough that you have to go single file, Marcus behind you, your wands held high to light the way. The stairs spiral down again, even deeper, and you're not sure how far beneath the castle you are now. How many layers of stone and magic separate you from the world above? The temperature drops with each step, your breath starting to fog in the wand light, and the magic here feels different, heavier, older, like it's been accumulating for 1,000 years without outlet. At the bottom, you find a circular chamber carved from living rock, and every surface is covered in runes that glow faintly blue in the darkness. They're beautiful and terrifying at the same time, pulsing in patterns that might be language, or might be something older than language. And in the very center of the chamber sits a crystal. It's roughly the size of your head, multifaceted and clear, and it pulses with golden light that illuminates the whole room. This is the heart. This is what powers the castle's consciousness, what gives Hogwarts its awareness and will. You approach slowly, reverently, your hand extended without consciously deciding to reach out. The crystal's light is warm, welcoming almost, and when your fingers brush against its surface, the world explodes. Magic floods through you in a torrent, not painful, but overwhelming. Too much sensation to process. You're thrown backward, Marcus catching you before you hit the wall, and then the chamber fills with a sound like bells and alarms and something ancient waking from sleep. The door you entered through slams shut with a boom that echoes through your bones, and the walls, the floor, everything begins to move. "What did you do?" Marcus shouts, and you can hear the panic in his voice. "I don't know," you shout back, because you don't. You just touched it. You just wanted to understand. The runes on the walls flare bright enough to hurt your eyes. And then a voice fills the chamber, but it's not a voice like any you've heard before. It's layered, dozens of voices speaking as one, male and female, and everything between, old and young and ageless. It's the castle speaking. Hogwarts itself has awakened. "You have disturbed the heart," the voice says, and it echoes from everywhere and nowhere. "You have sought what was hidden. You will be tested. Prove your worth, or remain here in the depths, watching over what you cannot possess." The door that was sealed suddenly swings open, but beyond it isn't the passage you descended. Instead, you see a corridor you don't recognize, lit by torches that burn with purple flame. Marcus grabs your arm, his grip tight enough to bruise, and you run together through the doorway, because staying in the chamber feels like accepting whatever remain means, and you're not ready to give up yet. The corridor beyond is wrong, all wrong. The architecture doesn't match any style you've seen in Hogwarts. The stones are placed in patterns that hurt to look at, and as you run, the walls begin to shift. Not just move, but shift, changing shape and structure, flowing like water frozen in stone. Doors appear in walls that were solid a moment ago and then vanish again before you can reach them. The floor tilts and you grab Marcus's hand to keep from sliding backward. "Point me," Marcus gasps out, his wand extended. "Hogwarts entrance." The wand spins uselessly, unable to find north or any direction at all, and Marcus swears with impressive creativity. "The castle is blocking navigation spells. It doesn't want us to find our way out." The corridor splits ahead into 3 branches, each identical, each equally ominous. You skid to a halt, breathing hard, trying to think through the panic. "Together," you say, making the decision quickly. "We stay together, whatever happens." "Obviously," Marcus replies, and despite everything, despite the fear and the impossibility of this situation, that word steadies you. You choose the middle path because it feels right in some indefinable way, and as you enter it, a portrait on the wall suddenly animates. The figure is a witch in Founder-era robes, stern-faced and sharp-eyed, and she looks at you both with an expression that might be assessment. "First test," she says, her voice clear and commanding. "Knowledge. What was Rowena Ravenclaw's greatest fear?" Your mind races, pulling up everything you've read about the Founders, every journal entry you've seen. What did Ravenclaw fear? "That knowledge would be lost," you say, the words coming from somewhere deep and sure. "She built this castle to preserve learning, to make sure that wisdom would survive, even if people didn't. She feared forgetting." The portrait's expression softens into something that might be approval. "Correct," she says. "You may pass." The door ahead clicks open, and you don't wait for it to change its mind, pulling Marcus through into the next corridor. This one is lined with portraits, dozens of them, all from different eras, and as you enter, they all turn to look at you. Then they start moving, not just within their frames, but out of them, painted figures reaching through canvas and wood with hands that cast shadows. Marcus raises his wand and starts casting shield charms, silver light erupting between you and the grasping hands. "The castle's testing our defense," you shout over the chaos, and you join him, stunning spells and barriers combining as you fight your way down the corridor. It's not about destruction, you realize, as a painted wizard's hand closes around your wrist and you have to wrench free. It's about proving you can protect yourselves, that you're capable of handling danger. At the end of the corridor, you burst into a chamber that holds 4 doors, each marked with a different founder's symbol. The portraits stop pursuing the moment you cross the threshold, and silence falls so abruptly, it's disorienting. The castle's voice echoes through the chamber again, that same layered ancient sound. Second test, it says. Unity. The founders worked together, each bringing their strength to create something greater than themselves. So must you. You try the doors individually, pulling, pushing, casting unlocking spells, but nothing works. They remain stubbornly sealed, and after several minutes of fruitless effort, Marcus slams his hand against the wall in frustration. We need to open them simultaneously, he says, but there's only 2 of us and 4 doors. You stare at the doors, thinking, and then it clicks. Not just timing, you say slowly. We need to engage all 4 at once, together but separately, like the founders, each bringing their own magic but working in harmony. You and Marcus stand in the center of the room, wands raised, and together you cast a spell that splits into 4 streams, each one reaching toward a different door. The magic flows from both your wands, different but complementary. Ravenclaw blue and Slytherin green twining together, and you feel the moment when the spell locks into place. All 4 doors swing open simultaneously, revealing a single passage beyond them that leads forward. Brilliant, Marcus breathes, and you can hear the genuine admiration in his voice. The next chamber is the strangest yet. When you step through, the floor beneath your feet disappears, and you're suddenly standing on a floating platform hovering over a void so dark you can't see the bottom. More platforms float around you, drifting and rotating, and on the far side of the chamber, maybe 20 meters away, you can see another doorway. Marcus looks down at the darkness, and then at you. This is impossible, he says. The platforms move too fast. We'll never make it across. But you're studying the platforms already, looking for patterns, because there's always a pattern, always a logic to magical construction. You notice that each platform has a rune carved into its surface, and when you focus on them, recognition sparks. It's constellation-based, you say, excitement breaking through the fear. Look, that's Cassiopeia's chair, and that one is part of Orion. They're arranged like stars. Ravenclaw's constellation, you realize. The pattern of stars that represents wisdom and knowledge in ancient magical astronomy. You map the path in your mind, tracing from one platform to the next in the order the stars appear in the sky, and then you take a breath and jump. The first platform holds steady beneath your feet, and you leap to the next, Marcus following close behind. The void yawns beneath you both, and you don't look down, focusing only on the next platform, the next star in the sequence. You're halfway across when one of the platforms begins to crumble beneath Marcus's weight, stone flaking away into the darkness. His foot slips, and he starts to fall, and without thinking, you throw yourself backward, grabbing his hand. "I've got you," you shout, your other hand gripping the edge of your platform so hard your fingers ache. Marcus's weight drags at you, threatening to pull you both into the void, but you hold on, muscles screaming, and somehow, impossibly, you manage to pull him up. He scrambles onto your platform, both of you gasping, pressed together in the small space. "Thank you," he manages, and you just nod, unable to speak yet. You make the rest of the crossing together, careful and deliberate. And when you finally reach the far doorway and step onto solid ground again, you both collapse against the wall for a moment, hearts racing. The final door is larger than the others, carved with symbols you don't recognize, and when it swings open at your approach, the chamber beyond makes every other test feel like practice. You step inside, and the room transforms. The stone walls and magical atmosphere disappear, replaced by something that makes your chest tighten with recognition. You're standing in your childhood home, but something is wrong. The familiar rooms are dark and cold, emptied of warmth, and the silence is oppressive. The castle's voice speaks again, softer now, but no less powerful. Final test, it says. Courage. Not the courage of combat, but the courage to face what frightens you most, to see truth without flinching. A figure appears before you, and it's you. Or rather, it's a version of you, older, alone, sitting in an enormous library surrounded by books and completely isolated. The fear version of yourself looks up and speaks in your own voice. This is your future, it says. Always chasing mysteries, always choosing puzzles over people. Look around. Where are your friends? Where is anyone who matters? You've sacrificed everything for knowledge that no one else cares about. The words hit like physical blows because they're your deepest fear given voice. The worry that lives in your chest at 3 a.m. when you can't sleep. That your obsession with understanding, with solving, with knowing, will leave you alone. You dragged Marcus down here, the fear self continues, gesturing around the chamber. Your only real friend, and for what? A mystery? Some secret about a castle? You choose puzzles over people every time. You look at Marcus and see him facing his own manifestation. It's a man who must be his father, tall and stern, and the disappointment on the apparition's face is devastating. You broke into the castle's heart, the Fear Father says, his voice heavy with judgment. Curse breakers prevent damage, protect magical sites, and you violated the most sacred place in Hogwarts. You've betrayed everything I taught you, everything our family stands for. Marcus flinches like he's been struck, and seeing his pain cuts through your own fear. This is what the castle is showing you, the truth beneath the confidence, what you're both really afraid of. This is the test, you say, reaching for Marcus's hand, grounding yourself in the reality of his presence. It's showing us what we're most scared of. How do we fight it? Marcus asks, his voice strained. We don't fight, you realize. We accept. You turn back to your fear self, and the words come from somewhere deep and honest. You're right, you say, and the admission feels like stepping off a cliff. I do get obsessed. I do choose mysteries over people sometimes. I push too hard, get too caught up in understanding things. But, you continue, and your voice grows stronger, that's not all I am. I'm here with Marcus because I needed him, yes, but not just for his magic. I brought him because I trust him, because I couldn't do this alone, because his friendship matters more to me than any discovery. You look at Marcus, meeting his eyes. You're my best friend. That matters more than any secret this castle holds. Your fear self wavers, the image becoming less solid, less certain. Marcus turns to his own manifestation, his jaw set. You're right, he says to the Fear Father. I broke rules. I went deeper than I should have, but not to cause damage, not to steal or exploit. His voice is steady now, gaining confidence. I did it to understand, to learn. That's what you taught me, to seek truth, to uncover what's hidden. And I didn't do it alone, Marcus continues, his hand tightening around yours. I did it with someone I trust completely, someone who makes me braver and smarter than I am on my own. The manifestations begin to dissolve, breaking apart like smoke in wind, and the chamber transforms again, the false home and the fear figures disappearing. You're back in a stone room, circular and carved with those same glowing runes, but the atmosphere has changed. The hostile weight of the magic has lifted, replaced by something warmer, almost approving. The castle's voice returns, but it's different now, gentler, almost kind. You understand, it says, and there's something like satisfaction in those layered tones. Knowledge without friendship is empty. Discovery without trust is hollow. The founders knew this. They argued and disagreed, but they built together. They trusted each other. You are worthy, the voice says, and the words settle into your chest like warmth. In the center of the chamber, the crystal heart appears, the same one you touched before, but now its light is soft and welcoming rather than alarming. You and Marcus approach together, and when you both place your hands on its surface, the magic that floods through you is different this time. Not overwhelming, but illuminating. You see the entire history of the castle in a cascade of images and sensations. The founders arguing about the best placement for the entrance hall, laughing together over dinner, working late into the night on enchantments, Rowena sketching blueprints by candlelight, Godric testing protective spells, Helga establishing the kitchens and ensuring every student would be fed, Salazar creating hidden passages, not for evil, but to protect, to preserve. You see 1,000 years of students walking these halls, learning and growing, fighting and loving, and through it all, the castle watching over them, adapting, protecting, caring. The vision ends, and you're back in the chamber, tears on your face though you don't remember crying. In your hand, materialized from nowhere, is a blueprint. Not the one you found in the book, but a new one, complete and perfect, showing every corridor, every hidden room, every secret passage in the castle. It's the full truth of Hogwarts, all its mysteries mapped and revealed. Attached to the blueprint is a note in 4 different handwritings, the ink still somehow fresh after a millennium. For those who seek with pure intention, you read aloud, learn our secrets, protect them, use them wisely. The castle has chosen you. The signatures read, Godric, Rowena, Helga, Salazar. Behind you, a doorway appears, revealing stairs that lead upward. The test is over. You've been found worthy. We should go, Marcus says quietly, looking at the crystal heart with something like reverence, before it changes its mind. You take one last look at the heart, at the pulsing crystal that gives Hogwarts its consciousness, and you whisper, "Thank you." The light pulses brighter for just a moment, warm and approving, and you feel the castle's response in your chest. Wordless, but clear. You're welcome. You're trusted. You're known. You climb the stairs together, Marcus beside you, both of you exhausted and covered in dust, but alive, successful, transformed. The stairs lead back to familiar territory, emerging in a corridor near Ravenclaw Tower, and through the windows you can see dawn breaking over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. You've been in the depths all night, though it felt both longer and shorter than that. Standing in the growing morning light, you unfold the blueprint, and Marcus leans over your shoulder to look. Every corridor is marked, every hidden room, every passage that shifts with moon phases or responds to specific spells. The complete truth of Hogwarts, laid bare and beautiful. "What do we do with this?" Marcus asks, and there's weight in the question because you both understand what you're holding, the responsibility of it. "We keep the castle's secrets," you say, the answer coming clear and certain. That's what it wanted. Not someone to exploit its mysteries, but someone to understand them, to be trusted with them. You fold the blueprint carefully, reverently. "The founders trusted us. We honor that trust." Marcus nods, and in the gesture, you see agreement and something more, a shared understanding that you've both been changed by this, marked by the castle's acceptance. "We tell no one," he says. "We tell no one," you echo. You walk toward Ravenclaw Tower together, and the castle around you feels different now. Not just stone and magic, but aware, present, watching over you with something that feels almost like affection. You've touched its heart, passed its tests, been found worthy of its deepest secrets, and in return, it has given you knowledge and trust. The portrait guarding your common room looks at you both with knowing eyes, but asks her riddle anyway, maintaining the pretense of normalcy. You answer correctly, and as you step into the familiar blue and bronze space, you realize that you're holding a piece of the castle's soul in your hands. The blueprint isn't just a map, it's a gift, a promise, a responsibility. Other students are starting to wake, early risers heading down for breakfast, and you and Marcus exchange a look that holds everything you can't say aloud. You've found what you were seeking. You've discovered that Hogwarts is alive, aware, protective, ancient, and beautiful. You've been tested and trusted. And now you carry that knowledge forward, a secret shared between you and Marcus and the castle itself. A mystery solved, but never to be spoken. You curl up in your favorite chair near the window, the blueprint tucked safely in your bag, and watch the sun rise over the grounds. Marcus settles in the chair beside you, both of you too wired to sleep despite your exhaustion. Hogwarts stands around you, its stones warm with morning light, its magic humming contentedly, and you know with absolute certainty that it's aware of you, proud of you, trusting you with what it showed. Some mysteries, you've learned, are meant to be understood, not solved. Some secrets are meant to be kept, treasured, protected. And some friendships are forged in the deepest places, tested by magic and fear, and emerge stronger than steel. The castle keeps its vigil. You keep its secrets. And in the quiet morning light, surrounded by the magic of 1,000 years, you understand that you found something more valuable than any mystery, more important than any discovery. You've found belonging, purpose, and trust in a place that has loved its students for 10 centuries and will continue loving them for 10 centuries more. Well, my dear friends, that's where we'll leave our story tonight. I hope you enjoyed this journey into the depths of Hogwarts, into its beating heart and ancient secrets. May your own dreams be filled with magic and mystery, with friendships that endure and discoveries that transform. Thank you for spending this evening with me. Until our next adventure together, sleep well, dream deeply, and remember that the best mysteries are the ones we keep safe in our hearts. Good night.